Hello. Unmute.
Sorry, didn't notice. Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm also exhausted. It's 3 a.m. here, so I'm very excited to be here.
Where are we?
I'm in France.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited.
Very excited. I am pumped up on so much coffee.
I am in Delaware and so am I. So it's an open forum. Please jump in, speak as freely as you like, okay? We have
All right.
going to be joining us and we'll start the show. So if you have anything you got to do, fluff your hair, whatever you like.
All right. So it is filmed then. All right. I didn't know if it was going to be audio only.
Oh, no.
No?
Woo!
All right.
They just
Do we look
went out.
acceptable? We're good?
Ah, I've never had that one happen.
Maybe that'll probably be that. Maybe it's an internet thing.
Well, we're going to get started. That's one thing. When people come on, I'll have other people that will join in. We're going to get started with you, love. We're not going to wait.
Sweet.
Okay.
Oops, sorry. All right. I think everything looks all right, but like the lighting is awful.
No, actually, it looks very nice.
Thank you.
Well, I go for the darkness, so.
Yeah, well, you've got this. It looks great. Like the candles really aesthetic. I love it.
Good. Thank you. You just made my night. Alrighty. It looks like we have Jeff that is connecting right now, so we'll give him a minute. Hello.
Hope it's working. Yeah. Hello.
You have to unmute. Can't hear you.
How's this?
Beautiful.
Awesome. Sorry, it's been a while since I've Zoomed. How is everyone tonight?
Wonderful.
Doing well.
You have Sarah and myself, and we are pumped on coffee. How's that? How you doing?
I just had a Mountain Dew, so I'm all caffeinated and ready to go.
All right. So we should have a good little chitty chat here. All righty. Well, we have one more that might break in, just to let you know, but I'll definitely let you know when they come in. Okay?
Cool.
Sounds good.
So we're going to start the show. Jeff, do you have to fluff your hair or do anything?
No, I'm all primed and ready to go.
You got it. All righty. Hello, everyone. This is Opus Night, and you have entered Night Vision. Tonight, we have author Sarah Anderson and Jeff. What is your last name, love?
Bardwell.
Bardwell with us. So I'm going to have them read the blurb, excuse me, from the back of their book, just to get us started, okay? And then we are going to talk about the politics of publishing. So please stick around. Alrighty, Jeff, tell us about this wonderful book.
All right. My book takes place in a second world fantasy where mages are persecuted. And the blurb is as follows. A terrible secret, a vengeful empress, and an unstable empire. Sir Corbin, retired hero of Jerkham Pass, dies on the eve of an urgent mission. His granddaughter Kelsa dons the old man's armor and his wrinkles and sets out to complete his last quest. She ventures to the capital. The city is in an uproar. The emperor has been slain by rogue mages, and the new empress is livid. Now every mage is suspect, including Kelsa's mother. Hidden behind a magic ring, Kelsa infiltrates her grandfather's old regiment. As the mission leads her down a path of dark suspicions and lustful adventures, Kelsa struggles to live up to her grandfather's legacy. The more she examines it, the more holes she discovers, until Sir Corbin's secret past threatens to expose her. Unravel the Night's Secret, the first fantasy adventure intrigue of the Mage Conspiracy series. Discover a world of romantic entanglements and political intrigue, where lies cut deeper than any sword.
Now, I have a question. How was it to write a romance? Since I'm assuming you said there's romance in there, I'm very, very curious.
There is a very strong romantic plot, although I'm on the fence whether or not I want to actually call it a romance or an intrigue with the romantic elements. But to answer your question, it was different. It was definitely a source of motivation that I'm not used to delving to in my books.
So did you get more comfortable as you were writing it?
I did, ironically, as the series kept going, and I'm about to put out book 4 in a month or two. The romantic element has swelled a bit, so it's like half the book is a major romantic subplot.
Ooh, I like that. Sarah?
I have written a book called Starstruck. Well, it's actually the first one in a series, and
Oh.
it's sci-fi humor, so a completely tonal shift here.
I like it.
Here we go. Pro tip: if you're trying to get your life back together, don't run over any aliens with your car. After an incident with a hot air balloon causes college dropout Sally Weber to lose her job, she sets off to find direction in her life. Crashing into a teleporting alien, however, is not on her to-do list. Now she's on the run from TV drama-loving aliens, and things are just getting started. Xander, who won't stop reeling her into life or death situations in order to save her planet, as he waits for his sister to search the universe for him. Though Sally isn't quite sure if she wants to save the Earth from annihilation or just quell his curiosity of all things human. Sally has to find lost alien emissaries as well as a job and stop the planet from getting incinerated in the process. But with Xander as her roommate, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, I love that. That sounds like so much fun. Now, are you into comedies?
Oh, I love them. Yeah, I feel like the only way to get through like the craziness that is life is to have a good laugh about it. It's chaotic, embrace it.
Oh, join the club. I write dark literature, and my most favorite thing is where there are the elements of surprise, where there is humor. I love the irony of the way things play out, even in life. I mean, that is life. So,
It makes life worth living.
oh, without a doubt. So you're in France.
Yeah.
How is it that how does their bookings go, as far as, do you have a lot of American authors that you meet in France?
Yeah,
Or
but
is it
none of them
more
really do
French?
sci-fi. Most of the other authors I find are writing like Provence romances or Paris romances, a lot of contemporaries. Other French authors I meet are very eclectic, all over the place. I have a few mangaka author friends who are really cool too. But I mean, with COVID, it's been very difficult to connect with anybody. So most of my writing friends are actually in the States, believe it or not, just because of how Facebook linked us up.
Well, that's why I'm so excited. I haven't, you're my first.
Cool.
I've met someone in France, and I'm so excited. I think that is awesome.
I should have come with a beret and a baguette.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna go change clothes. Just give me two. Now, Jeff, where are you? Whereabouts are you right now? Might we
I'm
ask?
in Maryland.
Aha. Well, see, you're not that far from myself. I'm in Delaware.
I have relatives in Delaware.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, we were going to dive into the politics of publishing. So a few of my questions are just as personal as you want to have them, okay? When you started the idea of pursuing writing, did you decide that you were immediately going to go into publishing with a publishing house and an agent? Or did you immediately say, nope, I'm going to be self-published and this is the route for me? Or was it something that you kind of had to digest and think over?
A bit of both. When I was in college, I tried to go through the traditional short story publishing route. I was writing literary fiction in those days instead of fantasy.
Mhm.
And like most people, I hit a wall and bounced, and could wallpaper the bedroom wall with my rejection slips. And that must have been 2012 or 2013. And then 2017, I actually wrote my first fantasy novel.
Mhm.
And I decided to hell with going the long route. I'm just going to make a publishing company and put it out myself. And I did. And I've been doing it ever since and been working out rather well.
Any regrets?
Yes, that time period between 2013 and 2017, I wish I had started a little earlier.
You would be surprised. I hear it all the time. And we're so glad you didn't wait. We're definitely glad you didn't wait. Sarah, how about you, love?
I've had weird experience with this because I've always been writing, but never thought I'd publish just because I write for fun. It was a hobby like painting, you know?
Mhm.
And I ended up in cover design, of all things, trying to pay my way through college. And it was there that I met self-published authors who gave me the confidence to like actually show my work. And through that, I got connected to a micropub. So it's basically like self-publishing, but with extra cuddles. And this little publishing house has been fantastic for me, and I love them. And they let me do my own covers. And okay, probably that sounds like they're taking advantage of me, but no, I get to make my own covers. I'm very happy with that. But I would love to see what it's like, just have that little experience, see what it's like to go through a big publishing house, or you know, have those miles of rejection letters too. I think that is a badge of honor for an author. And I currently have a manuscript that would probably do quite well in trad if it gets picked up. So I'm gonna attempt it just to know what it's like. I want to have my feet in both worlds so I can decide what my future path is. But hey, if I get rejected all the way and decide that maybe trad is not going to open a door for me, then I know that self and micropub is the way for me.
That's wonderful. Now, Jeff, where did you find the route that you decided to take when you came to opening your own publishing company? Did you research it? What avenue? Walk us through that.
Sure. I was always aware of self-publishing, but I guess back in 2013, it had more of a stigma than it does today. So I wanted to have some kind of a company behind it, even if it was just, you know, my own company. I researched it. I was helped along by a friend of mine who was also founding a business in a different field. So she had known a lot of the little steps and hoops you had to go through to open up. It was just a state LLC. And so, yeah, researched it, went through with it, spent about 4 or 5 months writing and editing that first book and finding the perfect cover artist and sent it out there, only to realize.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one step I skipped was storyboard editing. So I actually had to take my first book down. It was doing rather well, to plug a few holes and then push it back up again.
Now, how old were both of you when you started writing? When you discovered the love affair that you have with writing? Because every author I know is so intimidated to actually start or begin, and then you find, oh, I've been writing for years. What exactly made you take that leap?
I come from a family of storytellers. Like my dad would, when we go hiking, he loved hiking, I did not. He'd tell us stories, like invent them on the spot as we're walking for miles and miles, and kept them going. And that was just normal for me. So I was the annoying little kid who was like, Mom, write this down. Like, because I didn't know how to write yet. So I just dictate these awful stories, honestly, no pacing, no plot. But like we have these tiny little booklets of these things she wrote out about my bears turning into cats or whatever. So the thing is, like, I've always been writing, and I just never thought that it would end up being published because it just like feels like something you do.
I have a very close story that is very close to yours, that my grandmother used to tell my mother stories. Well, my mother would always say, put an end on it, baby. And we would end up, when I would go to bed, she would be telling stories. And it didn't matter what friends, I have 3 brothers and a sister, and it didn't matter what time of night it was. It didn't matter if there was 100 people in there. My bedroom floor would be full of people who would sometimes fall asleep listening to my mother tell a story. So, back when I was a child, they had a lot of the parties that they used to give, and the little cocktail parties and things like that. And so I would get up in the morning and I would be trampling over top of people, and they were sitting listening to my mom's stories, because she would tell the most fantastic, beautiful, amazing stories. And then when she started telling me, when she would get tired, she'd say, put an end on it, baby. And as an adult, I know, well, I guess she was getting tired. But as a child, that was like the most remarkable, beautiful thing to me. And I was so excited and waiting for her to say that to me, because that's precisely how I learned to tell a story, And if she woke up in the midst of me stopping or starting to fall asleep, she would tap me on my shoulder. And when she would say, but what happens to the bears? You know what? We'll think about it tomorrow. Okay. Just remember, they got to get home, or however she would put it. And the next day at school, by the time I got home, I would have this huge story that I wanted to present to my mom. I couldn't wait to do it. And I guess that excitement built over the years. And I'm so grateful eternally. She's long passed, but I am so eternally grateful. And every time I even start to get stuck on a thought or anything, it's, I close my eyes, and I write a lot in the woods and walking around and things like that. And it's so funny because it's as though I can still feel her with me when I'm writing, And actually, I have Orpheus, who, let me see if I can turn it around a little bit, if you can see my man. This is my muse. So I kind of have a group with me when I'm writing, and I love it. Now, Sarah.
Yeah.
How long have you found that writing was this amazing thing that you wanted to capture in a book? Why not movies? Why not on some other media?
Well, actually, when I was about 16, I had an existential crisis, because up till then I wanted to be an astronaut, but then I stopped growing, so I couldn't. And so I got to pick which high school I was going to, and I didn't know if I wanted to follow something that pushed me more towards movie making, because I loved the medium, I was obsessed, or astrophysics. And, well, everyone was recommending, if you do astrophysics, you can probably, if you hate it, you can fall back on movies. But if you do movies and you hate it, you can't really fall back on astrophysics. So here I am, 10 years later, and I'm doing an astrophysics PhD and writing books on the side. Get the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Now, see, I do cinematics a lot, and I have a ball with those. Now, Jeff, what is your favorite medium, and what exactly did you decide that you were going to pursue in life before you started writing?
Good question. Tossed up between books and music, I guess, for my favorite medium. And I was writing early enough that before I wanted to be a writer, I think I wanted to be a fireman or paleontologist. No, it was a paleontologist. But yeah, I've been writing ever since I was 7 or 8, and my dad set me down at his office computer. It was an old Apple II. And I got sick of the computer games, and I discovered the word processor, and I just started typing. and I've been typing ever since.
Nice. I love it. So we're going to talk about what is it that you guys find the most frustrating with writing?
Where do we start?
And where do we finish?
I said the most. I know we have a few things that we can touch on, but what is the one thing that you literally just either want to close the book and, oh, I'm never doing this, I'm done with this, I'm worn out, or I'm throwing it over to someone else and they can handle it?
Well, it's that moment where you've read your book so many times and you hate every page. And you're like, I just wasted years on this and it's awful and I don't want to start over. And it's just knowing that you're going to go through that and accepting you're going to go through that for every single book. And it's not done until you feel that awful feeling. I just hate that. I don't know if it's the most frustrating, but it's one that I hate and I wish I could get over.
Do you find it hard to market yourself?
Okay, no, I don't have too much trouble talking about myself. The problem is finding the right place to do it.
Gotcha. How about you, Jeff?
To the first part, the most frustrating thing for me is as part of writing the book, when you're in the middle of it and you know where you're going, but you're not quite sure how to get there. Because I mean, I know there are plotters and there are pantsers, and I do outline my books, but I don't like to have a rigid framework. So my outlines are very, very basic. And so basically it's a framework and then I go and fill in the gaps as I write. Sometimes I'm not sure what to put in each particular gap. And that can be very frustrating. The marketing is hit or miss for me. I put out a weekly newsletter, which is usually pretty consistent and will sometimes go for advertisements or, you know, little websites or Twitter. But yeah, if there's a marketing secret, I have not discovered it yet.
Now, how do you feel about structuring your stories? Did you find that a welcoming thing, or did you have to kind of navigate between the characters and really get down and dirty and think about, oh my God, like, I know the story, I know where it's going, I know what characters I want, but do either one of you write them singly and then decide to kind of put them together? Because I know that seems to be a common practice with a few author friends that I have. And I kind of stood in awe looking at them like, how do you do that? But I you know, so have either one of you tried that?
Kind of. My outlines are pretty basic. I came up through writing a lot of short stories, so usually it's just a typical 3-act structure. I'll outline the 3 main characters, what the main conflict is, the low point and the resolution are, and then maybe 2 or 3 bullet points per chapter, and then everything else is discovery as I write it. Sometimes I won't even write the 3rd act on the theory that by the time I hit the 3rd act, I'll be steamrolling so hard that it'll just naturally flow. Usually it does.
Nice. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a pantser for my first draft. I don't plan anything because I want to surprise myself, and that's where the funnest things come out of. And like you said, having that steamroll effect, once you get that steam, you're going. And then I put it on a shelf for like months and don't think about it, and then come back to it as an editor and rip it to shreds. And that's when I really go through with the bullet points and the structure and figure out what's working, what's not. Are the characters going through good character arcs? Are they each representing the themes properly and all that fun stuff? And that's when the editing begins, and that'll take a while. But really, I like surprising myself the first round and then destroying myself the second.
Now, speaking of the arcs, how do you end up getting beta readers, or because that seems to be problematic for a lot of new authors? Now, did you pursue or did you have like a list of people that you pursued while you were writing your story, or was it something that you waited till the story was finished and then you kind of tried to find people that were going to read it?
Yeah, basically. With Starstruck, it was a unique experience because I started writing it for a friend. Like, and having just one audience member makes things a lot easier. Sometimes I actually do that when I'm working on a book. I'll try to picture in my mind who I'm writing for and then just pretend I'm writing for them. It makes things a little bit easier, but not every book has been like that. But anyway, so she was my beta reader and she was great. And then years later, I ended up trying to look for beta readers. And here's what you don't do. You don't go on Tumblr and say, anybody want to write my book? That's what I did. And let's just say I got some very conflicting advice.
I'm sure.
But I've learned from then. I've built, and some of those people I'm still in touch with and I really love. So it's good. But yeah.
See, it's wonderful when you have a lot of involvement, even though you kind of got to weed through it. But like you said, you know, the beautiful thing is you met a lot of people and you made some great friendships. How about you, Jeff?
I found most of mine through soliciting my newsletter, because basically they all are people who have picked up one of my books for free or as a loss leader and at least like some of what I've written. And I've kind of combined my beta readers and my alpha readers and my street team and my reviewers all in one lump group. So in fact, some people do all of the above and some just pick or choose, and some will nitpick the historical details and some will say, well, your character didn't do this, and some will just zero in on the grammar. And it works out pretty well.
Now, how do we deal with reviews? Or how have you dealt with reviews actually? So
basically 2 weeks before, well, 2 weeks or a month, it varies, before I'm going to publish the book, I send it out to my reader group and ask them to have it back by such and such a date. And some of them will send me feedback, and some of them will send me very specific feedback. Some of them will answer. I always send out a little questionnaire. The level of detail varies depending on person to person, and then some will post reviews. And so after the time period has passed, when it's about to go out, I'll send a second email to everyone saying basically, this is the link to this distributor, this is a link to this distributor, yada, yada, yada. Please post your reviews. And that way you have something out of the gate when you're publishing the book, and it helps get people's eyes on it, kind of a social proof.
Now, how do you write dialogue? How do you write appearances, as far as, do you have characters that you don't kill off, but they literally are there for 1 second in order to get you through to another character? Like, they're instrumental, but in the same token, you kind of never see them again. Have either one of you ever done that?
I tried, but I get too attached to them.
I do too.
Yeah, one of my books had a little robot. He was just supposed to move them from one room to the next. He ends up sticking around for the rest of the plot. Love him. One of my favorite characters. Crowd pleaser.
I do the same thing. Trust me. I can write one little smidgen of something and it goes from 1 page to 35 pages later. And I'm like, I love this character. Jeff, how about you?
Oh yeah, my books all have ensemble casts, and my readers think I put the story Bibles in the back of the books for them to reference, but it's really for me writing the book. Yeah, I definitely have had characters that I thought were one-offs that I like so much that I brought back, or that I thought would be more important that kind of left by the wayside. I am sad if I have to kill off particular characters, but I try not to hesitate, because if it's relevant to the story, then yeah, they gotta die. On the other hand, I try not to be gratuitous about it. Like, I'm not George R.R. Martin going through with a sword and whacking hither and yon. I try not to target everyone's favorite character, but some things are worse than death.
like I said, I write dark literature. Everyone dies. No, I'm just kidding. If there's a way to kill you off, you're going. Put it that way. I know that much. No, I'm just teasing. Sarah, what is your favorite character in your book?
Xander, for sure. He's just basically a puppy dog of a human who just loves everything. Well, human. Alien, looks like human, adores everything on Earth. And it makes me like get a real appreciation for the things around me, because if I try to look at them with this I've never seen this before point of view, it makes the world so much grander and beautiful. And you know, we all get too used to the things around us that sometimes we don't see the beauty in them.
Definitely. And you know, the beauty of books is, you know, you're literally leaving this realm in your mind, and you are entering someone else's. And you know, I know that with literature in general, it was initially they used for politics, they wrote for morals, and you know, that's amazing. And I know there are room for all different kinds of stories, all elements of surprise and the real world and so forth. But when you can have something that transcends you, and that you are flipping those pages as quick as, you know, and you don't even want to pause to go to sleep, that's the magic, you know, right there is the magic. Now, when you're structuring a book, how long does it usually take you? And do you actually outline your structures?
Yeah, on my second draft, so after I finished that Pantster draft, I completely sit down and structure it start to finish with the acts and just try to figure out how everything fits together, especially for character arcs, because I feel like I like really character-driven plots. Everything else is basically just to get them to realize something or to move on or to grow up, you know? And that is kind of hard because, you know, humans are stubborn little creatures and it's hard to get them from point A to point B. And so structure is essential, at least for me. But that's why I can't do it on the first draft, because I don't know what's going to happen to them, because life is just so unpredictable.
How many drafts did you make?
I tend to go through about 6.
That's
but
good.
On a good book, I can stop at 3 or 4.
That is good. Jeff?
Going backwards for the drafts. I guess I don't really count my drafts because I do the cardinal sin of micro revising after I've already written. So I'm kind of always redrafting as I go through the old stuff before I write the new stuff. My favorite character isn't one actually in the stories from the blurb I read, but from another series I'm working on. It was inspired by the scene in the original Wizard of Oz, actually, because one of my favorite books growing up, where Dorothy finds the Tin Woodman frozen in the woods and brings him, quote unquote, back to life with a can of oil. And so I posited, well, what would the actual mental effect be of a sentient automaton who's stuck there for ages, but still conscious as people, you know, throw apples at him, but he can't actually communicate. And so I created a very sweet, childlike character with basically the innocence of a 5-year-old and the mind of someone's grandfather. And I'm just slowly stripping away his innocence as the series goes on.
How many character traits do you find yourself putting a lot of them in your stories?
Yes, I try to make my characters as human as possible. So even the heroes have a bit of evil in them, and sometimes the villains have some redeeming qualities. So, and everyone has more than one reason for doing something. And some people really like that, and it drives other people crazy.
How about you, Sarah?
Same here.
Does the robot have character traits?
They gotta have character traits. They gotta be people. Yeah, I mean, if you have a flat character, you feel it. It's like a flat tire on a car. Everything's just gonna go blah, 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 blah. You gotta flesh them out and give them as much humanity, or the opposite, get them as dark as possible. But they have to have all the things that make them human: the hates, the dislikes, the flaws, the skills, the talents, the fails, the fears. And, that takes up a big part of my time. But once you get that settled, then the characters kind of do their own thing. And I love when a character surprises you.
Now I'm interested. I am actually intrigued. How do you write for a robot? Talk us through this. Let us know about this, because you know, I am very, very character driven when it comes to their character traits and assimilating them into different worlds and different environments. However, a robot, I'm so in. I think that is amazing. So how exactly do you do that?
I guess my secret is he's still, you don't focus on the fact that he's a robot. You focus on the fact that just like any other character, he has motivations, he has hopes, he has goals. In this case, the first emotion you see in his internal monologue as he's watching the main character is a mixture of hope and pity, because the main character is kind of struggling at that point and basically bitching at the world. And the robot's in his mind going, you know, if I could, I would help you, I would do this, I would do that. And basically the entire first scene is him pretty much falling in love with the main character, who eventually rescues him and brings him back to life. And they kind of have a father-son relationship, or they would if the main character didn't think the concept of a 10-foot tall wooden man calling him father wasn't completely ridiculous.
I gotta read this.
I know. I told you I was intrigued already. And show us the front of the book so we know precisely what we're looking for.
Sure. One sec. I need to run downstairs. Copies of the book everywhere. It's not with me.
That's okay. Sarah and I'll give you a minute and we'll keep talking.
Sure. While I spy around the house.
So Sarah, how do you feel about dialogue?
I love it.
How do you write about dialogue, or how do you begin to write? Do you start with the character traits? Do you start with the environment? Do you start with the dialogue?
Okay, so usually I have the characters, I have them fleshed out enough in my mind that I know what they do, how they react, and then I just pit them against each other, let them riff off each other, take the conversation in a natural flowing direction, and then when that's done, just trim the fat. And then add in all the stuff that they might be doing at the same time. But really, the problem with dialogue is keeping it natural. And that's always been something that we struggle with, because, you know, in real life, you're probably not sitting there going, okay, how do we talk about the next plot point when you're having a conversation with someone sitting across from you? So it's something that's definitely the hardest thing to do, but also the most fulfilling. I love it. I just love when a great piece of banter comes out naturally from a conversation. And I'm like, yes, there's chemistry.
Do your characters ever tend to surprise you, or you walk away with those aha moments like, oh my God.
All the time.
Why did you say that? Or no, they shouldn't say this. And then you find, yes, they should. It's beautiful. It works.
All the time. And that's when you know that it's working. It's when that happens.
That's how I feel. I feel as though the characters drive themselves and I'm along for the ride.
They're alive. In a sense, they're completely alive.
Yeah, and the more that I feel they get to go where they want to go, and I'm not pre-planning everything, it's incredible. There's a natural flow to it that it's unmistakable. Like I feel as though when readers are reading, I want them to have that flow where they're just so excited for the next page turn. You know, I absolutely love that. Now, Jeff, did you get your book?
I did.
Yeah.
This was the one I read the blurb from. It's the fantasy
Beautiful.
romance.
Oh,
intrigue.
gorgeous.
It is.
That is some
And-
sweet typography.
Well, you
Thank
know, you already have 2 fans here. And when was that released, or has it been released yet?
It has been released. It was released in 2018.
Okay.
So that's the series. That was book 1, and I'm working on book 4 at the moment. The series with Styx, the lovable automaton, the first book
Whoa.
is this one.
Love it.
And
That's
it's
gorgeous.
more steampunk. So Styx as a robot is made out of brass and wood instead of steel.
Beautiful.
Okay, I need that.
You said that was that you're working on the 4th?
Yes, for the Mage Conspiracy series, I'm working on book 4. There are going to be 5 books in total, plus a prequel. Ironically, I already pushed out the prequel because most people, when they write a prequel, at least in my experience, they take their main characters and then they go back in time.
Mhm.
The central conceit of that series is a dual plot line where one is in the present and one plot line is in the past. So we've already gone back in time. So my goal for the prequel was to take the horrible, villainous despot who's threatening the entire countryside and to bring death and chaos to everyone, and to go back in time when the evil queen was a princess and make the sociopath who tortures rats for fun lovable. I think I halfway succeeded in that. But yeah, so in that case, the prequel is kind of off to the side. For the Rotten Magic, the Artifice Mage series, that one is going to have 6 books and a prequel. I've written and published the first 3. I've outlined book 4, but I'm waiting to write it until I finish the other series, because I really want to actually finish one of my series.
Now, which one was the most fun for you to engage in?
Engage how?
When writing it, which one was the most fun? Like which character, or was there a specific scene that you were just like, I don't want to be out of this little area right here. This is an amazing part of it. Because trust me, readers want to know these things, because that's the first place they're going, when they pick up your book, they're going to be like, all right, where is it?
Got it.
Let it happen.
I love them both for entirely different reasons. For the Artifice Mage saga, it's an epic fantasy style with multiple POVs. Like each book has at least 2 or 3 main POVs going through the story.
Mhm.
And I like that because I like to get different people's perspectives on the situation at hand. And so kind of looking at things from different angle, like Ulysses, except it's not boring. And for the other series, it's written very narrowly, very first person focused on the main protagonist, except there are 2 dominant threads going through the series. So the main protagonist changes every couple of chapters, but I like that specific narrow focus.
Which point of view is it written in? Or are they all in different points of view?
For the Artifice Mage saga, we follow the story of Devon, who wants to be an artificer, basically a mechanic in a steampunk empire. And he's secretly a mage, except in the empire, magic is illegal and mages are tortured and killed whenever you discover them. So he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place because he wants power and magic is a source of that, but he kind of has to keep it under wraps. And that's the one where there's kind of a round robin of 3 or 4 different POVs, and he's one of them. For the other series, the Mage Conspiracy, the two threads are basically Kelsa, who is the heroine, and trying to save all the mages and prevent the Empire from backsliding into chaos. And for that entire present story arc, she is the main POV. We never go out of her perspective. But then occasionally you go back in time about 25 years to the people who have gotten the ball rolling to the current crisis.
Mhm.
And you follow, her name is Maven. And she's basically one of the mages who kind of upsets the apple cart that leads to the Empress deciding that, all the mages have to die. And for that storyline, you're following her.
Interesting.
Very precisely. As far as my favorite scene goes, I think this part in the Artifice Mage Saga, where Styx discovers some dragon eggs in a dumpster and decides to stick them in an oven to hatch them and raise the little baby dragons as pets. And he's just completely bowled over when these cute little creatures crawl out of the oven. Is probably my favorite scene.
And I promise you, just a little feeling here, I guarantee that's the number one thing that when they come back, if you have your book signings and you have any type of reviews or anything, anyone who mentions what the complete area that he is specifically talking about, let us know. Please let us know. Because that has been one of the most fun things, is where there's certain either character traits or certain little isolated moments, or even like I had spoke of before, you have a character that will just come into play and then you never see them again. And readers love to know that, and they will write back to you. The feedback is amazing. And sometimes I've had other writers that have said, this wasn't a character that I was going to, indulge in writing more. And then it becomes huge because the readers will let you know. And I love that. Their feedback is incredible. And they do listen. They listen to everything, which is amazing, because I am a reader and my mind works the same way. I'm going to ask you about those eggs. What is the significance of those eggs? Do they actually grow up to be dragons?
Yes, the significance of the eggs is twofold. The first one is basically Styx found them in the garbage because in Imperial society, they've kind of lost their romanticism about dragons, and they're basically slaughtered for food. And so once you make the dragon steaks, the eggs were kind of considered, like we would throw away offal. They tossed away the eggs. Mm-hmm. And so Styx kind of goes on a crusade to save the dragons. Mm. And eventually the dragons grow up and he finds a few more wild ones, and he will eventually be the first person to ride the dragons and start a little unit in the army of dragon riders.
And readers, you heard it here first. We love that. Sarah, give us a little hidden gem from one of your books.
Oh my goodness. It's 4 in the morning. How am I supposed to go through all these?
No
That's
one
a coffee
Dang.
time.
probably knows this, but she's in France and it is 4 in the morning. You said you were amped up on coffee.
I am.
It's
About 10 minutes ago, it started to crash, and I haven't gotten up to make more. So I'm just sitting here going, Okay, this is ridiculous because I'm an astronomer, and I'm a terrible astronomer because I can't stay up through the night. Anyway, okay, book stuff, right. Yes, okay, here's a funny gem, everyone. It's springtime, which means it's the annual time of year where I get hate messages, loving hate messages from my fans, because in book 4, we meet an alien forest, which means that they talk to each other, and they get a little bit in depth about pollen and what pollen means to their society, which means that I've ruined springtime for all of my readers, and they let me know it every single year. It's my favorite time of year.
Oh,
So I'm not sorry.
see?
Yeah.
You're going to love that.
But
I've had such a great time, truly. And it looks like we have a visitor behind you, Jeff. I don't know if you noticed.
Total supermodel.
Yes, this is Scraps.
That is
She's
a
my
ham.
writing partner.
And what is his name?
Scraps.
Aw,
Beautiful.
He really is. Look at that look.
He said he wanted to join in. He's seen Orpheus.
Oh, definitely.
Guys, I have had a beautiful time, and I thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You are
Thank you
so
for having me.
welcome. And again, can you please put your books up so the readers they can look right at them and they'll know precisely what they're looking for.
Oh, and I didn't even bring up X marks the spot, but that'll be for another time.
I love those covers.
Lovely.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's a gorgeous. I am totally getting that.
Yes, it is. They're all beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Guys, I've had a wonderful time. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay?
you. This has been so much fun.
I'm
This has
so
been
glad.
wonderful.
And readers, we gave you some amazing insight to both of these books. So I'm going to tell you, please rush out and get Sarah Anderson's book and get Jeff. Say your name again?
Jeffrey Bardwell. You can find all my books
Bardwell.
at
Please.
just jeffreybardwell.com.
Now, both of you, please tell us how to get in touch with both of you. I always try to make sure that we know if you're on Twitter, we know where we can get in touch with you, or if you have a website.
My website is seandersonauthor.com. I'm also SE Anderson on Facebook and Read Recommendations on Instagram. I do a lot of book photography and promote a lot of other people's books because I'm an avid reader too, and I just love it. So if you want to see pretty pictures of books and other cool books to read, then you can see me on Instagram.
Wonderful. Jeff?
All my stuff is at jeffreybardwell.com, just JEFFREYBARDWELL. You can find my books, you can find links to my newsletter, and all my social media.
All righty. Everyone, we thank you for joining us. I am Opus Night, and this is Night Vision. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. We know you're exhausted, love. Please go to bed.
It has been worth it every minute, and I'm going to crash now.
I'm so glad.
Thank you
Have a great
so
night,
much.
guys. Have a great night, readers. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.